If you're past 60, there's something you do almost every single night that might be quietly putting your brain at risk. You don't feel chest pain. You don't feel dizziness. No slurred words. No numbness in your arm to warn you. You drift off feeling normal. But by the next morning, you might wake up confused, unable to form words, or unable to move one side of your body. A stroke. Sudden, silent, life-changing. And it could be caused by something as simple as the way you sleep. I've worked with stroke patients for decades. What surprises people most is that many nighttime strokes don't start with smoking, poor diets, or lack of exercise. They start with everyday sleeping habits people never think twice about. Habits they believe are harmless or even helpful. But they're not. Tonight, I want to walk you through 9 of the most dangerous sleeping positions and nighttime routines that can quietly raise your stroke risk when your brain is most unprotected. If you're over 60 or love someone who is, this might be one of the most important lessons you ever hear. Before we start, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you don't miss more health tips like this one. And if you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 so I know how to make these videos better for you. Let's begin. Habit number 1, sleeping flat on your back with no pillow. It looks peaceful. Some even say it feels good for the spine or helps them breathe better. I've met many seniors who swear by it, a routine that began decades ago. But here's what no one tells you. Sleeping with your head level to your heart can quietly block proper blood flow in and out of your brain. Here's why. As we age, the vessels in the neck and brain stiffen. They don't expand and contract the way they once did. When you're flat, gravity is no longer helping blood drain from the brain. It has to fight its way out. Instead of flowing smoothly, blood slows down. It begins to pool. And when blood sits still long enough in stiff vessels, clots can form. They may remain quiet all night until the early morning hours, when blood pressure naturally surges. That's when the clot breaks loose, traveling upward and blocking a vessel in the brain. The result? A stroke that strikes before you even get out of bed. I'll tell you about Leonard, a 77-year-old retired mechanic. He was strong, still tinkered with lawnmowers in his garage, and lived independently with his wife Mary. Every night he laid flat on his mattress, no pillow, hands folded on his chest. A habit from his Navy days. He said it gave him the best sleep. But one morning, Mary found him half awake, unable to speak. The right side of his face sagged. His arm hung useless at his side. He was rushed to the ER, where scans revealed a clot blocking blood in his left middle cerebral artery. Doctors worked quickly, but Leonard never fully recovered. He now walks with a cane, his speech slow and heavy. Mary props him up with a wedge pillow each night, something they both wish they had known to do years earlier. This is not rare. When the brain's drainage system slows, stagnant blood becomes a breeding ground for clots. Combine that with overnight dehydration, natural oxygen dips during sleep, and the morning rise in blood pressure, and you have the perfect storm. It's especially risky if you already live with high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation, sleep apnea, or narrowed carotid arteries. The safer option is simple. Keep your head slightly raised, about 30 degrees. Use a supportive pillow that holds the neck's curve, or a wedge that keeps your head higher than your heart. Even 1 or 2 firm pillows can reduce pressure, improve oxygen flow, and protect your brain while you sleep. Leonard once told me through tears, "Doc, if someone had just warned me, I would have changed everything. So let me be that warning for you. If you sleep flat without a pillow, it's time to change tonight." But as bad as lying flat may be, what happens when you sleep face down can be even more dangerous, because the way your neck twists in that position can choke off the very arteries that feed your brain. Habit number 2, sleeping face down on your stomach. For many people, this feels natural. Some say it eases back pain. Others like the cocoon-like pressure on the chest. But when you lie face down, your neck has to twist sharply to the side so you can breathe. That twist compresses the vertebral arteries, major blood highways carrying oxygen from your spine to the back of your brain. And as those arteries are squeezed, the flow of oxygen-rich blood is reduced. Now, in a younger body, the system compensates. Oxygen dips, you stir, you adjust. But after 60, arteries are stiffer, circulation slower, and oxygen drops are tolerated much less. Your body may not wake you to fix it. You sleep right through it, while your brain quietly suffocates. Ethel, an 82-year-old retired schoolteacher from Ohio, learned this the hard way. She had always slept on her stomach, her face pressed into the pillow, her neck tilted to the side. One morning, her daughter found her half-conscious, her words slurred, and her left arm limp. At the hospital, scans showed a major stroke in her cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls balance and coordination. She had no atrial fibrillation, no recent infection, and her cholesterol was normal. But her carotid arteries were narrow, and years of stomach sleeping had cut off just enough blood flow for a clot to form silently at night. Ethel survived, but she no longer drives. She now needs a walker to get around. She told me once, shaking her head, "I thought I was safe in bed. I didn't know the way I slept could nearly take my life." Here's what's happening physiologically. When your neck rotates in the prone position, vertebral artery flow can drop by up to 40%. Add in pressure on the carotid arteries from sinking into a soft pillow, and drainage out of the brain slows too. On top of that, chest compression reduces how much your lungs expand, lowering oxygen saturation in your blood. Less oxygen plus less blood flow equals a brain starved of what it needs most. In some people, the CO2 buildup even pushes the heart and blood vessels into instability. And if you snore, use sedatives, or have sleep apnea, stomach sleeping multiplies the risk. Your airway collapses more easily, oxygen drops are deeper, and your brain's chance of a silent stroke climbs higher. The fix is not complicated. Try sleeping on your side, preferably your left, with a supportive pillow that keeps your neck aligned. If you can't break the habit right away, wedge a body pillow behind you so you're less likely to roll forward in the night. Comfort is one thing, protecting your brain is another. Which brings us to the third habit, one that seems harmless, even comforting, but is anything but. Habit number 3, pulling a blanket over your head. It's something many of us do without thinking, to block out a snoring partner, to muffle the sound of a fan, to feel warm and secure like when we were kids hiding from the cold. But for older adults, this habit is quietly dangerous. Because when you cover your head at night, you don't just block noise and light, you block airflow. Instead of breathing fresh oxygen, you begin to rebreathe your own carbon dioxide. Hour after hour, oxygen levels drop while carbon dioxide levels climb. At 30, your body may have tolerated this. At 70 or 80, the brain can't handle it the same way. Reduced oxygen thickens blood, slows circulation, and increases clot formation. And in vulnerable vessels, that clot can be the trigger for a nighttime stroke. Take Richard, an 81-year-old retired postmaster from Iowa. A gentle man, quiet and thoughtful, he'd pulled the covers over his head since childhood. His wife teased him about it, said he looked like a bundled-up caterpillar, but he said it made him feel safe. Then, one winter morning, he didn't get out of bed. When his wife checked, he was groggy, unresponsive, and barely able to open his eyes. In the ER, his oxygen levels were dangerously low, and scans revealed a stroke deep inside his brain. The likely cause? Oxygen deprivation during the night, worsened by the thick quilt he slept under. Here's the medical truth. During REM sleep, your brain needs consistent oxygen to restore itself. When airflow is restricted, oxygen levels drop, your heart races to compensate, and blood pressure fluctuates wildly. In older bodies, this instability is enough to create clots, and you don't notice it happening. You go to bed warm and safe, but your brain is slowly suffocating. By the time you wake, or don't, the damage is done. Medical studies confirm even mild nighttime hypoxia, oxygen dips during sleep, significantly raise stroke and dementia risk in seniors. And this doesn't just apply to those with sleep apnea. Anyone who restricts their airflow with blankets can be affected. What should you do instead? Use a sleep mask for light, earplugs for sound, and breathable bedding that keeps you warm without smothering your face. Keep your blanket folded below your shoulders, never over your head. Richard now sleeps with a wedge pillow and lightweight bedding. He told me during a follow-up visit, "I never thought something that felt so safe could almost kill me." His story is a reminder that sometimes the smallest habits carry the biggest dangers. And yet, as harmful as a blanket over your head might be, there's another habit millions of seniors fall into that can be even more dangerous. It doesn't happen in bed, it happens in the chair beside it. Habit number 4, sleeping upright in a recliner. For many older adults, beds become uncomfortable. Back pain, stiff joints, reflux, or shortness of breath make lying flat feel unbearable. The solution? The recliner. A soft blanket, TV humming in the background, the chair tilted just enough to feel secure. It feels safe, but night after night, that comfort can quietly increase your risk of stroke. Here's why. The body is designed to sleep flat, with blood and oxygen circulating evenly. When you sleep semi-upright, say 45 or 60 degrees, gravity works against you. Blood is pulled downward, pooling in your legs instead of flowing smoothly back to the heart and brain. The veins in your hips and thighs get compressed, slowing circulation even further. That pooled, stagnant blood becomes fertile ground for clots. Barbara, a 79-year-old retired florist from Kentucky, used her recliner after a hip surgery. She told herself it was just until the pain eased. But the pain lingered, and the recliner became her new bed. For years she woke stiff but managed, until one morning her daughter found her still in the chair, confused and unable to move her left hand. She'd had a lacunar stroke, caused by a small clot in one of the brain's deep vessels. She had no major heart disease, no arrhythmia, just years of sluggish circulation from sleeping upright. Medically, here's what happens. Recliner sleeping weakens the baroreflex, the system that balances blood pressure during sleep. Normally, when you're flat, your brain and heart communicate easily to stabilize pressure. But upright, that reflex doesn't work as well. Blood pressure becomes unstable. Add in dehydration, blood-thinning meds, or swelling in the legs, and you've stacked the odds against your circulation. Barbara told me later, "I thought my chair was helping me. I didn't know it was slowly hurting me." If you must sleep elevated, use an adjustable bed or wedge that raises your torso while keeping blood flowing evenly instead of cutting off your lower circulation. Recliners are for naps. Beds are for protecting your brain. Now let's talk about a habit that feels cozy but may be the single most dangerous: sleeping on your right side with your arm under the pillow. Habit number 5, sleeping on the right side with an arm under your head. This is how millions of people fall asleep every night. Right side curled up, pillow under the head, arm tucked beneath it for support. It feels natural, familiar, safe. But for seniors, this position quietly compresses some of the most important vessels carrying blood to the brain. When you wedge your arm under your head, you put pressure on the carotid artery in your neck and the subclavian artery near your shoulder. These are highways delivering blood straight to your brain. Hours of compression means slower flow, pooled blood, and the risk of clotting. It doesn't stop there. The veins carrying blood away from the brain are squeezed too, slowing drainage. By the early morning, when blood pressure naturally spikes, a clot can break loose and block a vessel in seconds. Ellis, a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran, learned this firsthand. Tough, independent, proud. He always slept on his right side with his arm under his pillow, a habit from his military days. One morning, his wife found him halfway out of bed, dazed, unable to move his left leg. At the hospital, scans showed a stroke in the right hemisphere of his brain. No high cholesterol, no diabetes, no smoking history. Just years of quiet vascular compression from the way he slept. Ultrasound later confirmed narrowing in his carotid artery. The damage had been building for years. Ellis survived, but his mobility is reduced. He now walks with a brace and spends hours in therapy. He told me, "I didn't know the way I slept could betray me." The truth is, this position doesn't just strain vessels. It squeezes the brachial plexus, the nerves running through the shoulder. That's why your arm sometimes tingles or goes numb in the night. For seniors, those repeated episodes mean more than numbness. They mean circulation disturbances that add up over time. The fix is simple but powerful. Sleep on your left side with your arms forward or alongside your body. Use a contoured pillow that supports your neck instead of forcing you to use your arm. This small change can protect blood flow and preserve the independence you rely on. Which brings us to the sixth habit, restlessness in the night. Habit number 6, tossing and turning, poor sleep quality. Aging often comes with lighter broken sleep. You wake often, you shift from side to side, you roll over to ease aching joints or to use the bathroom. It seems normal. But frequent tossing and turning isn't harmless. It may be your brain's cry for help. Each sudden movement changes circulation in the head and neck. In young vessels, the body recovers instantly. In older, stiffened vessels, the recovery is slower. Blood flow dips each time, and with repeated movements, that instability adds up. Combined with dehydration, low oxygen, or high nighttime blood pressure, the risk of stroke increases dramatically. Nancy, a 76-year-old retired piano teacher from Colorado, thought she was getting enough rest. She went to bed for 7 hours, but her husband noticed she turned side to side every 10 to 15 minutes. Over time, she developed morning headaches and dizziness. Then one night, she woke with her right hand numb and her words slurred. At the hospital, scans showed a small ischemic stroke. Later studies revealed her restless sleep was causing unstable blood flow and pressure spikes, setting the stage for clot formation. Here's what the science shows. Poor sleep prevents blood pressure from dipping as it should overnight. It keeps stress hormones high, pushing pressure spikes in the early morning, the prime time for strokes. It interrupts the brain's cleaning system, leaving behind inflammation that weakens vessels further. And in older adults, the brain can't afford those disruptions. Nancy now sleeps with a cervical pillow, keeps water by her bed, and practices slow breathing before sleep. Her recovery is slow, but she often tells me, "I thought waking up tired was normal. I didn't know it was a warning." Your body isn't just restless, it's signaling distress. And ignoring it can cost you more than just a good night's sleep. But as dangerous as restless nights are, the next habit is even riskier. Not because of how you move in your sleep, but because of what you forget before you close your eyes. Habit number 7, skipping blood pressure or heart medication before bed. This one is more common than most people admit. Maybe you forget because you're tired. Maybe you figure missing one pill won't matter. Or maybe you don't like the side effects. But for seniors, even a single missed dose can create the conditions for a stroke overnight. Here's why. Blood pressure follows a rhythm. It dips at night, rises again in the early morning. If you have hypertension, atrial fibrillation or heart disease, your body doesn't manage that rhythm well on its own. That's what the medication is there for, to steady the pressure and keep your vessels from overworking while you sleep. Skip it, and your blood pressure may surge between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., exactly when most strokes occur. Harold, a 72-year-old retired electrician from Wisconsin, was diligent about his health. He walked daily, ate modestly, never smoked. He took a single pill at night for mild hypertension. One evening, distracted by a ball game, he forgot. He told himself it was no big deal, that he'd take it in the morning, but he never got the chance. The next day, his wife noticed his face drooping, his words jumbled. A clot had formed during the night, triggered by unchecked pressure spikes, and travelled to his brain. In older adults, arteries are stiff, blood is thicker, and recovery margins are slim. A skipped pill is all it takes for pressure to build, platelets to clump, and a clot to lodge. Harold survived, but with slower speech and daily therapy. He now carries a pill reminder in his pocket telling me, "One missed night cost me my words. I won't make that mistake again." If you're prescribed blood pressure or heart medication, take it consistently. Set alarms, keep a backup pill box by your bed, ask a loved one to check in. One small routine is the difference between waking strong or waking to a stroke. Now, onto another overlooked danger: the environment you sleep in. Habit number 8. Sleeping in a cold room without proper neck support. Cool air often feels refreshing. Many seniors even crack a window or lower the thermostat, believing it helps them sleep better. But cold temperatures constrict blood vessels. Combine that with poor pillow support that bends your neck, and you've set up the perfect conditions for reduced blood flow to the brain. Loretta, a 78-year-old retired nurse from Montana, loved sleeping in a chilly room. She curled tightly with her chin tucked down, resting on a flat pillow. One winter morning, her son found her awake but unable to speak clearly or swallow. At the hospital, doctors discovered a brainstem stroke fed by vertebral arteries in the neck. The likely trigger wasn't diet or smoking. She never smoked, but chronic neck compression combined with cold-induced vessel tightening. The lesson is clear. Cold rooms narrow vessels. Poor pillows misalign them. In older adults, whose arteries are already stiffer, that double effect can tip the scales toward clotting. Optimal sleep temperature is around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. And always use a medium firm pillow that supports your neck's curve, keeping your head aligned with your spine, never tilted down or bent sideways. Loretta told me later, "I didn't think something as small as a pillow and the cold could hurt my brain." But for her, it nearly did. Which brings us to the 9th and final habit, one many think of as harmless, even relaxing. Habit number 9. Going to bed right after a heavy meal or alcohol. It's a familiar ritual, a hearty dinner, maybe dessert, a glass of wine or bourbon, then off to bed. You fall asleep full and warm. But what feels comforting can quietly set the stage for a stroke. Here's the problem. A large late meal redirects blood to your gut for digestion. Less blood flows to your brain. If your arteries are already narrowed, that drop is significant. Add alcohol and the danger doubles. At first, alcohol dilates your vessels, that's why you feel warm or drowsy. But as it wears off, vessels constrict again, blood pressure spikes, and heart rhythm can become irregular. For an older brain, those swings are risky. Gerald, A 74-year-old retired farmer from Nebraska had a simple nightly routine. Dinner at 7, bourbon at 8, bed by 8:30. One holiday evening, after a heavy meal and his usual drink, he went to bed content. At 4 a.m., his wife found him unresponsive. Doctors discovered a massive ischemic stroke caused by a clot formed overnight, worsened by post-meal thickened blood and alcohol rebound. Gerald survived, but the stroke stole his ability to speak. His wife, now his full-time caregiver, said, "We thought we were doing everything right. We didn't know dinner and a drink could take him from me." The truth is, alcohol and heavy meals compete with your brain for resources. They divert blood, dehydrate, and destabilize pressure when your body is most vulnerable, during sleep. If you enjoy food or drink, have them earlier in the evening, with water, and leave at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Don't confuse drowsiness with healthy sleep. Alcohol-induced sleep is shallow, fragmented, and harder on the brain. And with that, we've uncovered all 9 silent habits: flat sleeping with no pillow, face-down stomach sleeping, blanket over the head, recliner nights, right side with arm under pillow, restless tossing and turning, skipped medication, cold rooms with poor neck support, heavy meals and drinks before bed. Each one seems harmless, even comforting. But for the aging brain, they quietly strain blood vessels, slow circulation, and create clots that can strike without warning. Here's the most important truth I can give you as a doctor. Most nighttime strokes are preventable. These aren't random acts of fate. They're often the result of habits we never questioned, signals from the body we ignored, and that means change is possible. You don't need dramatic transformations, just small adjustments. Elevate your head slightly, sleep on your left side with your arms forward, support your neck, take your medications faithfully, keep your room comfortably cool, not cold, avoid heavy late meals and alcohol, stay hydrated, and treat restless nights as a warning, not just aging. You still have control. You still have the power to protect your brain. Every choice you make at night can either harm or heal. Because sleep isn't just rest. It's protection. It's when the brain restores blood flow, clears toxins, and prepares for tomorrow. As I tell my patients, it's not how long you sleep, it's how wisely you sleep. Tonight, when you pull the covers back, ask yourself, is the way I'm sleeping protecting my brain or putting it at risk? Because when you protect your sleep, you protect your speech, your memory, your independence, your very identity. If you made it this far, thank you for caring enough to listen. If this helped you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 so I know how to do better. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more health truths in simple, clear language. Because your brain and your life are worth protecting every single night.